It gets cold in the fire, and you leave me here alone. Take my soul in denial. You break my bones, you tear me down. You let me go, and now we're strangers on our road. You let me go, and now we're strangers on our road.
With the commish, Nate.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly OMFL podcast show. I am your host, the Commissioner, Nate. Let me welcome in two of my four buddies. Guys, let me just state it up front. We have lost Dwayne for the rest of the NHL playoffs. He has no interest in hanging out with me, and I don't blame him. His team's playing. He's watching NHL. Mr. Maniac is actually doing an NHL podcast tonight with another buddy of his. So we just got our two guys at the bottom here, Mr. Big Hurt, Mr. Trey. Fellas, how we doing tonight?
This game of chicken to see which one goes first.
Y'all got to be adults. I got to let y'all grow up a little bit. Y'all got to figure this out. Come on. Trey, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing all right, you know. They had a rough end of the OMFL season, but I'm ready to move on and hopefully leave some stuff in the toilet bowl and get ready for next season of Madden.
It'll be over to you, Mr. Big Hurt.
I'm doing all right, except for I've got a lot of extra stuff going on in the background all of a sudden, but I'm doing well.
It's going to be one of those nights, but we're going to have fun anyway. Well, let's get over here and let's do some recapping here, fellas. If you've never watched Press Pass Live for a couple of weeks now, we've been doing a, what's that stupid show called? Why do I keep forgetting the name of this show?
Around the Horn.
Around the Horn. It's the easiest name, Trey. Thank you. Trey is my OMFL Rain Man. He remembers everything I can't remember at all. He keeps me on the straight and narrow here. But we do an Around the Horn style game show where I award some points. We're going to get graphics and stuff figured out. That's got to be a little bit later on. But we give out points, and at the end, whoever wins the entire show, they get to give us their one final thought. Guys, let's jump into week number 16. We got some shocking games here. J Bowles beats Denbrew 38-14. That's not something I expected to see. Tim with a big win, 34-31 over Jay Bowles. No, Jay Glaze. Jeez, we always mix those two up. Mr. Roger with a 35-13 victory over Kevin. The Colts and Reluctant Pancake, a.k.a. Mr. Randy, a.k.a. Bronco Man, 23-13 over Nicesonger. Dwayne, 31. Massimo, 26. Bird with a big victory, 30-16 over Twinkie. Big Hurt, 28. Kansas City and Lucas, 16. That's a big-time victory there from Minnesota. Fleury shuts out my Saints, 19-0. An aggravating game. I couldn't get anything going. Trey with a big victory here in week number 16, 24-14 over Bill. Maniac in the Bills, 33-24 victory over Kobe. Seattle and Meat Boy with a 31-10 victory over Crazy. And Mr. Logan and the Chargers, 31-24 victory over Little Koch and the Bengals. A massive, exciting offensive game here between Cincyberg and Lost Sniper. The Jets come away with a 52-37 victory there. Mr. Penguins, 27. Nipples, 10. I think Nipples might be gone on some sex cruises. I'm not quite sure. I can't ever figure out if that guy is around or not. Colin, 31. D-Money, 29. Full tank mode activated. He's so tank mode, he's going to join the No Limit Soldiers. And then Joker in Arizona, 37-23 victory over Priest. Trey, I'm coming to you first to get us going here. Which was the most surprising game of week number 16?
The most surprising game to me, personally, though it still went in the result of the expected winner to win, I would have to say it was Miami and Dallas. I wouldn't have expected, given the season that Massimo has had, to put the best this season to the brink of losing. The Mouse has had a really bad season, and to be 5 points out, it just took a really bad second quarter. You take that second quarter out of this game, and Moss upsets Wayne. It gives you hope for Moss next season. Hopefully, they can kind of round the ship and put himself in contention in the AFC.
I absolutely agree with you. Big Hurt, which one was most surprising to you here in week number 16?
Most surprising storyline from week 16 was the Jets and the Patriots having almost 1,000 yards passing between the two teams and 5 receivers with over 100 yards. But I would say the most surprising game for me was going to be the Raiders upsetting the Browns in the way and the fashion that they did. 38-14. Denver's team has been red hot, like fighting for the top seed there in the AFC. And it just seems like Jay Bowles, I know, has had, like, when he puts it all together, he can be a top guy. He can be a playoff contender. But it just seems like he hasn't really found that traction and that momentum this season. He's had some close games, but for him to come out and actually just cold-heartedly dominate this game and hold Denver's offense to 14 points was the most shocking game. But I think the most shocking storyline, 1,000 yards passing between two teams and almost over 500, or over 5 receivers with over 100 yards receiving, is pretty crazy stat lines.
We're going to see another one of those here in week number 17 as we turn the corner here. Big Hurt showing his dominance here against Tim, 35-24 victory. Atlanta and Fleury with a 35-3 victory over Kobe. Bird with a 31-3 victory over Kevin. Luca bounces back with a 40-14 victory over Priest. And Priest, his team, the wheels kind of fell apart here in the second half of the season. Roger 34, Nysanger 21, Logan with a 21-10 victory over Cincyberg, a big time there victory for the Chargers. Lost Sniper keeps his offensive hot streak rolling, 38-14 over Massimo. Cleveland bounces back, Denbrew with a 24-14 victory over Nipple. Crazy with a nice offensive game. The problem is he forgot to play defense against Little Koch. So Little Koch gets a 42-28 victory over Crazy. Colin and C Murder bounce back with a 35-7 victory over J Bows. This is the game I was talking about. My Saints beat Bills Giants 40-36. Another crazy offensive game at like 1 a.m. Jay Glaze, geez, we'll get it right. 31-0 over Penguins. I'm not sure that game was actually played or if that was a CPU game. Meek Boy with a 49-28 victory over Joker. Reluctant Pancake with a 45-29 victory over D Money. D Wayne with a 26-10 victory over Trey. And then finally, Maniac rounds out week number 17 with a 42-14 victory over Mr. Twinkie. I'm coming over to you, Mr. Big Hurt. You talked about a storyline in week number 16 of offensive firepower. We've had some crazy victories here in a pretty wide range, some of the widest ranges of victories that we've seen this entire season. What was up with week number 17 and these wide spreads that we've seen?
I'm looking at it. I mean, it looks like some like high scoring games, especially from teams like that have 1 week. It just seems like they can't figure out the offense, or they make some mistakes or whatever it is, and they just have struggled to put points on the board. Like the Jets have done it pretty consistent, but some of these other teams have not done that. And this week you see the Jets struggle to score, and those other teams score a ton of points. But I think the game for me and the storyline was something that we talked about last show, and I'm going to turn right to Seattle at Arizona. Meek Boy has been on a hot streak, and we talked about like him and Joker coming down to the wire. And this divisional game in Week 17, pivotal matchup, Meek Boy shows his dominance, 49-28 win, and really kind of seals up the division. And with that, Meek Boy has clinched the NFC West title. And, we've talked about it multiple times. Meek Boy is a guy that he wins the regular seasons, and he has won a handful of games here in the second half of this season. And he's done it in some impressive fashion. If he can keep that going into the playoffs, the Seahawks are a team to watch out for.
Mr. Trey, what about you? Crazy offensive games here in week number 17, but more a wide range of victories. What kind of caught your eye here in week number 17?
There's a lot that caught my eye. The one that surprised me the most, as much as you don't like getting the pats on the back, is definitely you and Bill. I've played Bill twice this season now, being with Inside the Division, and Bill's no slouch. And you've openly said you've been having a struggling season. The fact that you seem to have found the offense but forgot what defense was kind of maybe counteracts your issues. But I mean, you're in a game where another almost 1,000 yards passing. You managed to get 3 interceptions. Bill gets his 1, and then the running game just weren't there. So it just became who's going to flex more, Mr. Jalen Hyatt or Oliver Hull? Is that Hull? Hull? Yeah.
Howell. It's something like that. I go with Hal. Sounds cleaner.
Combined,
Pause.
They had 13 catches for 475 yards between 2 receivers. That's ridiculous. Now, the winner of the matchup is definitely 3 touchdowns versus 0. So Oliver in the first round knockout, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. We played super late, I think, after the draft that night, and both defenses, like my cornerback, my best cornerback, decided, I'm not just going to cover this other receiver over here. He was burnt on every press play. And the problem was I wasn't pressing. Just some of those plays are called automatic press. And I couldn't just keep backing the guys up because he would just keep hitting the comeback. Bill just called the perfect plays every single time. What's up, Bronco man? We're going to turn our attention here to week number 18. Now, not all the games are played, but basically, this one is wrapping up here pretty quickly, and we're going to be off into the playoffs before we know it. Bird with a 21-17 victory over Trey. Penguins with a 41-36 victory over Little Koch. Mr. Luca bounces back, 24-21 victory over Maniac. Denbrew flexes with a 45-7 victory over Crazy Man. Dwayne flexes on Lost Sniper, who had been red hot up to this moment. That number 2, when it says played, always sort of gives me pause. I hate those restarts. But Dwayne with a 31-13 victory over Lost Sniper. Jacksonville and Nicesonger with a 14-10 victory over Kevin. Mr. Priest bounces back here in week number 18. We can talk if we were sitting starters or letting this one go. Not sure how this one played out, but he gets a 37-17 victory over Mile High. Atlanta and Mike Fleury bounce back with a big-time victory, 17-14 over Bronco Man. Mr. Tim with a big-time victory here, 42-35 over Joker and the Cardinals. Meat Boy with a 28-17 victory over D Money. Full tank mode. Toot toot. I don't know if tanks make noises, but that's the noise it made in my head just now. Colin with a 30-24 victory over Nipple, who I don't think has played at all this season. I think even if he physically has played, he has not mentally played these games at all. Week number 18, coming to you, Mr. Trey. Make me care about any of these games.
We're supposed to care. I think the only game that had like actual meaning to it was the Cardinals and Lions. That's the only game I felt like had any meaning to it, and yay, my feelings went awry because yay, Tim found the win.
That is fair enough. Anything else you want to add on that one?
Yeah, it was an impressive game by Tim. He gave up 5 passing touchdowns, but getting 3 interceptions and recording 3 sacks against one of the more crazier offenses in this league, and a high-powered offense at that is pretty impressive. He also got Jamar Gibbs going for 85 yards and a touchdown. But when in doubt, it's his speedy receiver gets his 3 catches for 106 yards.
When in doubt, air it out.
When in doubt, air it out. That's kind of the motto in the NFC North. Priest tried to make it look good. I just made it look fancier. And then, forcing 2 interceptions via Kirby Joseph and another one by, a man near and dear to my heart, Mr. Deontay Scott. Just the precise gameplay needed to potentially sneak himself in the back door of the playoffs.
Pause. Big Hurt, please make me care about number 18.
In the words of one of my favorite shows during the fall time, not so fast, my friend. There are a few games in this week that actually do matter, and it's not just the Lions and the Cardinals. Lions and Cardinals definitely had some big impact, but let's look at the Falcons and the Colts. The Falcons are trying to sew up a wild card spot, and that win right there was big against the Colts. It also is a big impact for the Colts because the Colts win that game. They win the AFC South. With the loss, it leaves the door open for the Texans because if the Texans beat the Raiders, they are tied at 10-7, both teams. And then they split the regular season, so it comes down to some other tiebreakers. So that Falcons-Colts game matters, and the Texans-Raiders yet to be played matters. The other game that mattered was Denver beating the Rams kind of puts him back into the like on track because he lost that game against the Raiders. And with the loss to the Broncos, they are tied, but unfortunately with the Broncos beating the Browns in head-to-head. The tiebreaker has the Broncos uh, getting the number 1 seed in the first round bye. So I think the Broncos may have sat some guys. I'm not sure. I didn't look at the stats, but yet to be determined. With the last game that matters is my game against um, the Chargers, yet to be played. Because if the Chargers win, they are in contention for a spot if the Texans lose. And I'm fighting for a playoff and seeding or playoff spot with seeding as well in the wild card.
Yeah, some good games left to be played. We're going to turn the corner here, start to give some playoff predictions. We're going to take this division by division, round by round, and I gave you guys each 1 minute to kind of give me your predictions. Now, some of this on the screen that I'm going to show may not be exactly how this plays out. So if the way I am showing on the screen is not how you think it's going to actually play out, then you'll have to give me your predictions about who is in. Let's go ahead and start with Mr. Trey in the AFC. We got right now, again, according to Madden, with games still to be played, seeding still to be decided. Currently, right now, it shows the number 1 seed is going to be the Broncos, the number 2 seed versus the number 7 seed. That's going to be Denver, and the Browns versus Roger and the Texans. The second round match, or the second wild card matchup, is going to be Cincyberg and the Jets versus Penguin and the Steelers. And then finally, 4 versus 5. That would be Reluctant Pancake, a.k.a. Bronco Man, a.k.a. Randy, and the Colts. It is the number 4 seed versus the number 5 seed, and Lost Sniper and the Patriots. Trey, I'm coming to you first. If this is not how you think it's going to play out, tell me how it will play out. Who are the matchups and who wins in the wild card round? You got 2 minutes.
All right. I feel like we are exactly at how this playoff bracket is going to play out. I feel like we will get Mr. Roger and his high-flying Texans offense versus the. Well, does he still run the ground and pound game? I haven't paid attention too much because he's just always there, Mr. Con. Please tell me I'm right. It's Denver that has him now, right?
It is Denver.
Okay, so it is Denver. I forget what year we're in. They keep Cincinnati, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Cleveland. It's an ongoing juggling system between the two of them. I feel like in this situation, as much as I love that Rodgers finally in the playoff scenario, I just think when going gets tough, you really can't bet against Denver in a tough game scenario. I feel like we will have versus Pittsburgh, or Cincinnati Jets versus Pittsburgh and Mr. Flightless Penguin.
That would be a fun matchup if that happens.
That is two offensive masterminds. I feel, as much as I am dear friends with Mr. Penguins, I feel Cincy's offense is just, it's going to overpower that Steelers defense. I feel it's going to be a close one and very well could come down to the final play. And then my old rival, Randy, those dang Colts, and Mr. Lost in those beautiful Patriots that, beat me by nefarious means. I expect a very good, challenging game. A lot we brought it on this season. Randy's always been, since he pretty much walked in the door as very top contender. I expect a really good showing and potentially be my AFC game of the wild card round. I'm going to give my one upset here. I'm going to go give this one the loss. I feel like he's got some momentum behind him. Obviously, Randy just took that big loss in Week 18. That can change everything. So I'll go lost here to get he had a tough loss versus the Cowboys, but it's the Cowboys, so does it really matter?
Man, calling the first upset of season 114 playoffs. Bronco Man in the chat says, if Texans win tonight, I believe Colts versus Texans, Steelers versus Browns, Pats versus Jets. I think all divisional games. Man, that would be quite the shakeup if the Texans and Roger are able to pull that off. Big Hurt, I'm coming to you. Give me your predictions for the wild card round here in the AFC.
Yeah, so I was looking at some things here. I think we have the right mix of teams for the AFC, but I think if the Texans win, they leapfrog up to the 5 spot because they beat the Patriots head to head, and But the Patriots, if I recall, based on AFC wins, I think then the Patriots are ahead of the Steelers, so the Steelers slide to the 7, the Patriots slide to the 6, and then the Texans go to the 5. So I think Randy has that correct. So I do see the Texans winning the way their season's gone. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that that is correct and everything's right. If that is the case, I think the Browns versus the Steelers, from my take, I think the Browns continue their success and whatnot for the playoff for a wild card round. Jets versus Patriots would be another high-scoring matchup. I do believe both teams can air it out. That would be a fun one. That would probably be my favorite pick for an AFC matchup game to watch. These two guys are both good owners, good offensive guys, and the way their teams are built, it'd be a fun one to watch. I'm going to side with the Jets just based on the season that Lowry has as kind of my X factor. And then the 4-5 matchup would be the Colts versus the Texans. And that one would be another fun one to watch. I think Randy's just Mr. Playoff himself, but I think it's fun to see the Texans in the mix. And so, I think it comes down to how the Texans offense is playing that day. And if they can hit a couple deep shots, they can easily pull off an upset. And I'm going to go ahead and call that Randy has his moment and wins that game in a fun one, though. So I got the Browns moving on, the Jets moving on, and the Colts moving on, all the top seeds, which would put the Colts playing the Broncos and the Jets and Browns playing each other in the divisional round.
Well, let's stick it right there. Pause. In the divisional round of the AFC, you've already started to lay out your matchups, so you get to go first. Dig into it and tell me who wins the divisional round.
Yeah, this one would be fun to watch. We talked about kind of how things have shaken up. The Broncos have had such a strong season, and them playing the Colts, which they did not play in the regular season, so that would be a fun one. The first matchup for this year. I'm gonna give my nod just to the Broncos, just the way they've had the success they've had. They got back on track here, and I think week 18 with that big win. Or no, they lost to Green Bay. It was the big win in week 17, my fault, against the Steelers. The 31-0 shutout. But I think the Broncos would win just based on the success that he's had. So I have the Broncos winning and going to the AFC Championship. Plus, Jay Glaze always seems to find his traction like late in the cycle, and he's done that. So, yeah, I'll stick with the Broncos. And then the Jets versus the Brownies would be a fun one to watch. And I just think it's Denver's always a guy that like finds a way to win and is just Mr. Consistent year to year, Madden to Madden. But I think it's the Jets' year. The way they've passed the ball, they just put so much stress on the defense. And if McDimes has a good year or a good playoff game, he can throw for 400 plus, and that's just tough to defend. And so I'm gonna go with the Jets winning a tough divisional game, creating an Broncos-Jets AFC Championship.
Ooh, that might be an interesting one. We've talked about Jay Glaze and his Broncos. There's something about being late in the season for him. He just finds his stride. Coming to you, Trey, give me your divisional matchups and who wins those games.
With my pattern, how it would lay out, I'd also get the Browns and the Jets. And, you talked about, the Jets high-flying air on the offense. It's an offense that seems to play to the level of the opponent's defense. I got to play against it. My defense sucks, and I was able to lock it down. And since he was very annoyed by said matter, I feel like that gives Cleveland and Denver his perfect chance to have his defense lock him down and use his ground game and mix in his passes, and he's gonna put some Cleveland Brown run the ball football down your throat, and I think that'll be exactly how he takes the Jets out of this scenario. And instead of Mr. Colts in the Broncos, I have Mr. Patriots in the Broncos. It's hard to go against Jake. Heck of a run going off of last season into this season. A couple slip ups here at the end of the cycle, or end of the season, but I think he's got enough, no pun intended, horsepower to get the win over the Patriots and find himself in a Browns versus Broncos AFC Championship matchup.
That might be a really fun matchup. And speaking of matchup, we got a tie game here at 30 apiece. We're going to move to the AFC Championship game and who will represent the AFC and OMFL Bowl number 114. Coming to you first, Trey. You got a pretty fun matchup here. Tell me who wins that game and represents the AFC.
Yeah, you got the ground and pound style that is the Cleveland Browns. You got a very mixed, balanced, high horsepower offense that is Denver. I think this is going to be the time where Den tends to slip up when he gets to that AFC Championship game, and I feel like this is where he's going to feel that pressure of like, okay, I'm almost there again. And I think Jay Glaze he's not even looking at it as like, I have to get there. He's just playing to have fun at this point. I feel like that'll help him sit back and relax, and he's going to make that one key play that makes Denver make the mistake, and that's where he's going to pull ahead and ride himself on to an OMFL Bowl appearance.
Mr. Maniac's in the chat. He ain't got time for us, but he's got time for his little chatty chat fingers. He says Jets versus Cowboys. We haven't got to the NFC yet, Mr. Maniac. Pump your brakes. Big Hurt, coming to you. Give me your AFC Championship matchup and tell me who wins that game and why.
Yeah, so I got the Broncos hosting the Jets in the AFC Championship game. This would be an interesting game. I just think the success that the Broncos have had this year is can't go without being noticed. But I also think a lot of what people are overlooking is the statistics of what the Jets have done. And last year, when it came to playoff time, he was on the doorstep of upsetting the Ravens, and the Ravens made it to the OMFL Bowl. And with his season, I just think since he's like motivated and wants and chomping at the bit, and just like looking at these numbers, got Earl Lowry with 146 catches and over 2,000 yards. And it's like, okay, well, I'll stop him. Okay, well, Tyreek Hill's almost got 1,000 yards. Darcy Knox almost has 1,000 yards. And then you also have a 1,000-yard rusher in Breece Hall. Like, that offense is just so dynamic and so difficult to stop. And it's like, yeah, the Broncos have a good defense, but statistically, the Broncos offense is not like that dynamic, and the leading receiver has 60 catches. The Jets have a pretty good secondary. I just think the Jets have what it takes to get over that hump this year. And with the offensive numbers that they're putting up, I got the Jets winning and going and representing the AFC.
Well, there you have it. There is the AFC from my two buddies here. Let's get over here to the NFC, where we've got a few mainstays and a couple of new friends that we're going to see exactly how they do. It's going to be interesting. Now, again, currently on paper, this is the way that the game says. So if you disagree, you'll have to tell me exactly how you see this matching up. And you talking to me? I think this is Big Hurt talking about all this action in his backfield. No, it's all good, buddy. I figured that's what it was. But when it happened twice, I was like, wait, do I have to get down? I don't know how to dance. I'm not very good. I'm white to my core. Over here, we've got Dallas and Dwayne as the number 1 seed. The number 2 versus 7 is Meek and Seahawks versus Tim and the Lions. The 3 versus 6 is Colin, the champion Colin Bears, and Fleury and the Falcons. And then finally 4 versus 5, which sometimes is nice to Bird, sometimes isn't nice to Bird, but it's going to be Bird and the Panthers versus Big Hurt and the Vikings. And speaking of a team that sometimes can't get out of his own way, Big Hurt, we're going to have to talk about those Vikings. We're going to come to you first, Mr. Big Hurt, and let you break down your matchups. If you do not see it playing out this way with Seahawks, Lions, Bears, Falcons, Panthers, Vikings, then tell me who it is. Break it down, who wins in the wild card of the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a fun one. Only because I mean, the game that's still left to be played is me and the Chargers, which we're planning on playing tomorrow afternoon. Um, if I were to lose that game, I don't even know how it shakes up because the Cardinals lost to the Lions, but I've split with the Lions and I lost. Yeah, so I lost to the Cardinals, and so that just throws a whole wrench into things. And we're all like at 11 wins. What's crazy is you're gonna have an 11-win team not make the playoffs between the Vikings. If I were to lose, it'd be the Vikings, the Falcons, the Lions, and the Cardinals. One of those 11-win teams is not in the playoffs, and that's just crazy. But all these teams have had a good year. But I think for me, I'm going to stick with just what I see just because I don't know how things. So rather than making things too complex, we're going to go with what we see. So I think Seattle versus the Lions. Meek Boy's found his rhythm. I'm going to go with Seattle winning this game. Tim's been really hot the last couple weeks, and he's found ways to win when it's mattered. So I got the Seahawks pulling out a win against the Lions. I got the Bears and the Falcons. This one's going to be a fun game. The Bears have won, obviously, some big games this year, made it all the way to the OMFL Bowl last year. But let's not go without noticing the Falcons and the success that Fleury's had. This man has put in a pretty strong season and is on a 6-game winning streak going into the playoffs, and just beat Bronco Man, which is obviously a staple and mainstay in the playoffs here inside the OMFL. So this one I think would be closer. It'd be a fun game to watch. Probably the game I would probably tune into if I was an outsider looking into the NFC. But I think the Bears pull it out just because he's got such a crazy roster, top to bottom on both sides of the ball. But it's going to be a close one. And then the Panthers and the Vikings. And I really want to say that I won this game, but with Justin Jefferson out last year, I played the Panthers, and the way Bird plays, he just calls the right plays at the right time. It's almost like he knows, like he's sitting next to you, watching you call a play, and he's just like, "Yep, I'm going to call this to stop that, or I'm going to call this play to beat your defense." And he's just such a good play caller. Got such a good roster that he's built with the Panthers now. Can run the ball, and when you play good defense and you run the ball in the playoffs, that's a recipe to win. And I'm without my best player, Justin Jefferson, so I'm going to go with the Panthers winning a close one, and the Panthers beat the Vikings in the NFC wildcard.
All right, Mr. Trey, this one's coming to you. If this is not how you see these matchups breaking out in the NFC wildcard, then tell me who the matchups are, but tell me who wins in the wildcard round.
I very much think this is. I don't think it's going to change. I think the Cardinals are out, and that's the only team that could potentially screw this up. I think losing Tim ruined any hope they had of making it into the playoffs. As much as I would love to say Tim gets a W here, this is unfamiliar territory for Tim, I believe. I don't think he's used to being in the playoffs. If I'm wrong on that, let me know.
He's been there a little bit more since you've left.
Yeah, it takes a good team. Just he blew up the hot rod that he had last. I don't think Tim's used to being in these pressure situations yet. I think over time he'll get used to it to where it's just second nature. But I think we're still at that territory where he's got to learn how to play some playoff football. So for that, I say Meek gets the W. Colin versus Fleury. Fleury's got a great team, but it's Colin. He knows what to do and when to do it. I feel like he'll find that one play towards the end of the game where Fleury's got everything going his way, and then it's just going to flip in Colin's direction. I think Colin will get the W here. And then Bird versus Hurt. If there's no Justin Jefferson, the way Bird plays, I just played him. He seems to know that if you're running an in route, okay, my guys are just going to stop the in route, and I'm going to get an interception. Oh, you're running an out route, okay, my guys are just going to swat the pass, and you're not going to be able to do much. He's just got too good of a man press defense to beat straight up. So I have Bird moving on with all the division leaders moving into the next round.
Yeah, that bird is a heck of an opponent, a warrior to have to face off against. So that's going to leave us the number one seed Dallas Cowboys versus whoever all of your winners were. So Trey, we're coming right back to you. Divisional round, NFC. Who wins these games?
I have, with this setting it up, it would be the Seahawks versus the Bears. And this is where you hate to say it, but it's until you prove me wrong, I'm going to call it. I think this is where Meek throws up his season, says I'm done, because it's the playoffs, and that's what Meek does when it comes to big games in the playoffs. I feel like he's going to put the pressure on Meek, and Meek's just going to fold at this point in the time. It's no offense to Meek, it just seems what happens. And then that puts Bird versus Wayne. It's Wayne. You could give him a bunch of rusted up old garage shed tools, and he'll still find a way to beat you. So I have Mr. Wayne. It's going to be a close one, but I have Wayne winning this game and setting up a Bears versus Cowboys matchup.
That's what we had last year. And Bird did give him a hell of a run last year, but as normal, when you play D Wayne, you come up just a little short. Big Hurt, who's your matchups?
Yeah, so with my first round, I have the Seahawks, Bears, and Panthers moving on. I'm going to go, the Cowboys are playing the Panthers. I think the Cowboys pull out a win. Bird gave D Wayne a run for his money last year, if I remember right. But I think it was just at the end of the game. The Cowboys pulled it out. And I think the Cowboys, once again, just defensively running the ball. It's kind of two teams that match up style versus style. Like they both like to play defense, they both like to run the ball. But I think I just have to say, I think D Wayne's probably just a notch better because he's been in that situation time and time and time again. So when it's like the crunch play, that play that has to be made to keep a drive going or to make the big play, you just find D Wayne in that situation more often. And so I think that's the X factor for me is the owner, the coach being able to call the right play at the right time in a pressure situation. Bird calls the right play in the right time more times than not, but I just think in a pressure situation, high impact playoff game, D Wayne's been there many, many, many times, and I think that's what's going to have the advantage here. Cowboys get a win. The other matchup is going to be the Bears versus the Seahawks, and I think this one would be a fun one. I'm gonna have to say this is where the Seahawks finally get over their playoff kryptonite, and just he has time and time again has found himself in a situation, but at some point he's got to break the ice and he's got to shed loose. And I think this might be the season. He's finally locked it down in the back half of the season, got the wins when it mattered to win the division. And I think the Seahawks have put it all together, have a good team, and are figuring some things out. So I think the Seahawks win in a very, very, very close game against the Bears. I would not be shocked if the Bears won to try and repeat as the NFC champions. But I think the Seahawks pull out a close one, and it's going to be the top 1 versus 2 seed for the NFC championship.
I feel the same with Bird. It feels like he's always right there. It's like sooner or later he's got to break through. He's got to get there. It's got to happen sooner or later. Well, Big Hurt, we're going to stick with you. Give me your NFC Championship game winner and who's facing off in the OMFL Bowl number 114.
So yeah, the Cowboys versus Seahawks in the NFC Championship game. I think most people are saying, okay, D wins there. Meek Boy has, made it this far. He's got a crack at some point, right? But it also, I would like to say, Dwayne gets in those situations and he'll be the first to tell you, like, oh, I get that situation. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I just don't figure it out. I mean, everybody has those moments. It's like, yeah, I've been there 10 times and I've won 6 of them. We can all talk about the 4 times you didn't get there, but you still were there more times than not. You're still in NFC, still only 1 loss this season. So, it's kind of like laughable that you're like talking about the times that you don't make it, but the more times that you do make it. I think the Seahawks win this game though. if Meek Boy finds a way to get to the NFC Championship game, I think he's got the confidence. I think he's kind of broke the ice, and I think this is his season. And I just think the Seahawks get the big win in the NFC Championship that puts him in the OMFL Bowl to face off against the Jets this year.
That would be a heck of a victory. Trey, we're coming over to you. NFC Championship game. Who wins it? Who represents the NFC?
I've got Mr. Wayne versus Mr. Colin. I feel like we're going to get a competitive matchup here, and I think it tends to be a tendency when Wayne gets burned in the playoffs. He happens to play against them in the next season. He usually comes back very spiteful and makes you look bad. I feel like he's going to play with that chip on his shoulder. He's had the last 3 or 4 weeks in this season that he could have, benched his players because he had the number 1 seed locked up, and he didn't. He kept them out there and he kept putting a beating on people. I don't think the gas is getting let off until he's had enough of this season and has that OMFL Bowl in his hands.
That's an abrupt ending. But yes, I agree with you. I think Dwayne doesn't know how to let off the gas at all. And he just knows how to go one way. I feel the same way about Bird. I'm talking a lot about Bird here tonight, but I feel like he's right there on the cusp. It will be interesting to see how the Seahawks respond. And there's a couple teams that we'll talk about on next week's show that I'm still sort of scratching my head about what happened. Number one, the Joker and the Cardinals. It's like that team was so red hot. When you look at the stats, his players are playing outstanding. It's like, what happened to that team? That'll be a fun one to break down with you all as we look through the playoffs. Well, let's talk about OMFL Bowl number 114. Trey, we're coming to you first. Who's in it? Who wins it? Who's our champion for season 114?
I've got the number 1 up and in a battle of, shall we say, the horse and the rider. I got the Cowboys and the Broncos. This will be a very entertaining matchup. As much as I love when the NFC has dominance and we get win and it's a clear as day victory. I don't think this will be a clear as day victory for Wade. I definitely think Mr. Glaze has something up his sleeve. However, I do feel that Wayne's going to have a lead early in the first half, and as he's had the last few times I've played him, he's going to give up the points in the second half, but he's just going to build too much of a lead in the first half to give up the loss. I feel like this will be Wayne's OMFL Bowl, whatever, and he's won.
He hasn't won in quite some time, but I think this would be number 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. I don't know. It's a whole bunch. Big Hurt coming to you. Who's the OMFL Bowl matchup and who wins that game?
Yeah, I mean, this would be a matchup to watch. One for the tapes for sure. I think maybe an OMFL Classic. Cincy versus Meek Boy. Jets versus Seahawks. Man, I think this would be it's such a tough one to pick. The Jets averaging 29.3 points per game, 41 passing touchdowns, just like air it out, air raid specialist. The Seahawks averaging 27.4 points a game, 35 touchdowns, almost comparable stats. But here's the difference maker: is the Seahawks are tied for second in the OMFL in interceptions at 39 team interceptions. And the Jets are not far behind at 32, but the Seahawks have 31 sacks as a team compared to the Jets 23. And I just see when it comes down to it, these teams both can score points and they both get turnovers and they both are owners that can play at a high efficiency offensively. But when it matters who makes the mistake, and I'm just going to go with the statistics, and I think the Seahawks at 39 interceptions, that's the difference maker for me. And I just think there's a pick at some point in the game where these two teams like to pass the ball, and I think the Seahawks come up with a big interception that seals up a win, and Meek Boy finally gets himself a banner, and an OMFL Bowl championship to silence all the haters in the crowd.
Yep, that will be a fun game to watch, and I think everybody would be um, pulling for him if he was able to make that happen. All right, let's open up the OMFL mailbag. Mr. Maniac in the chat said that his prediction is Dallas wins 30-27 over Cincyberg and the Jets. And Mr. Beal, several minutes ago now,
Well,
said
Mr.
that
Maniac,
7-3
if you can
Texans.
make
4 minutes left
predictions
in
in
the
the
second.
chat, why don't you join and be a part of the game? Or are you just afraid to lose to me again?
I think he's just afraid to lose. We've yet to have 3 people, I think, since the first week, and we've not had all 4 of you. That's going to happen sooner or later. Mr. Denbrew also sent me a DM that he had the news ready and just didn't have time to record it. I feel you, Denbrew. Don't worry about it, buddy. I know how busy everyone's getting, and things have been nuts for me with this crazy government that we have messing up my work. Well, let's open up the OMFL mailbag and dig into these. You'll have a minute or so each to respond. Mr. Big Hurt has a 66-60 lead right now. I'm a sucker for stats, so if you can throw out stats and bold predictions, I'm a sucker for giving points away. Bronco Man says, looking back at your playoff madness bracket, if you made one, what are some takeaways, biggest surprises, or letdown from your preseason predictions to now? Big Hurt, I don't know if you participated, or even Trey, in the playoff madness bracket, but any big overall surprises or moves from your preseason's predictions?
Yes, I did do, and I did participate in the playoff madness. And looking at it right now, I actually had Denver winning the North. I had Kobe winning the South. That is obviously not the case. I did have the Jets winning the East and the Chargers winning the West, which is not the case. I did have the Colts as a wild card team, and then the Steelers as a wild card team. So yeah, I think for me, looking at it, I've got probably 4 or 5 of the AFC teams correct. And then looking over at the NFC, I had the Bears winning the North. I had the Panthers winning the South. The Cowboys winning the East, and the Niners winning the West, which I was obviously incorrect. But then I had me, Bill, and the Seahawks as wild card teams. Some things that I think have obviously are different and shockers is Kobe's maybe lack of engagement, whatever's going on outside of the OMFL in life is challenged, or if he's tanking, whatever we want to chalk it up to be. But the Titans not even being anywhere close. I did expect the Chargers to have a little bit better season with his success prior to being the Chargers when he was the other LA team, the Rams, and then switching over to the Chargers. Logan was just such a dominant player and owner and play caller and everything. Statistically, just dominated people like stranglehold, low scoring defensive games, but he made the plays that mattered. And he's just like a 500 team right now, and record wise. But I know he's a tough opponent, and I anticipated him. I did not see the success that they've had. And then obviously D Money. And I thought Bill would find a way back in the playoffs as a wild card. I didn't think he would beat the Cowboys, but I figured he would be back in as a wild card team.
Yeah, some pivotal matchups. So what about you, Trey? Any big surprises?
Yeah, I think, I had the Ravens, the Titans, the Bills, and the Chargers winning their divisions, and I had the Bengals, Browns, and Colts being wildcard teams for the UFC. That's obviously, a bit changed up here. I had Colin winning the NFC North. I had Bird winning the NFC South. I had Wayne winning the NFC East. I had the Seahawks, the Commanders, and the Giants being the wildcard teams. But the biggest shocker of them all, the fact that he isn't in the talks and is in talks was almost in talks for being number 1 overall pick. What in the blue Smurf happened to D Money? Like that, he's usually a dominant force, and the fact that he's sitting there with, I think the record is 3-14. Like, did he just decide he was taking off this entire season? Because that's mind-boggling that he is 3-14. That is by far the biggest upset when it came to this bracket. It definitely threw a wrench into everything. You didn't expect him to not be in the playoff talks, and the fact that at 3-14, you wouldn't even have imagined that would happen come the start of the season.
Yeah, he's had some real life things happening, but there's been a couple of those games where it's like he knows how to keep it just close enough where he's got plausible deniability that he's tanking, but losing games, it's like even if you played with one thumb, you would still be able to win that game. So a little bit surprising there. Let's go to our next mailbag question. Mr. Lost Sniper said, Maniac and Shocks had a thrilling game today that ended in what could be considered a bad beat. That would be so much fun to be able to have time to look at some bad beats. A deep pass, a broken tackle, and a touchdown in the final seconds after Mahomes misses 3 passes in a row. Do you remember your worst bad beat in the OMFL? I absolutely do. This is probably what is the recency bias in me, but there was a game where Dwayne was playing like a Twinkie. I think it was like a team where it's like there, even though it's a 12-point spread, there's no way that Dwayne is going to not win this game by 21, 17, whatever the number would have been. And he ended up winning like a 6-point game. And I was just like, how did that happen? How was that the game that you had? Trey, I'm coming to you first. Any bad beats that you remember either this season or last?
Well, given the question was, do you remember worst bad beat? It would have been last cycle in the OMFL Bowl. I had a dominant first half, and gosh darn it, Randy found a way to find his way back in. And then I felt like I had a wide open wide receiver, and his safety just out of nowhere appeared and picked me off and put an end to that OMFL Bowl run that I had.
Yeah, I like how you approached it. A bad beat, physically bad beat, not one of the betting bad beats. What about you, Big Hurt?
Yeah, for me, I do remember my most recent bad beat, and that was gonna be when I played Tim the first time this season. That game was brutally frustrating. I think I pretty much, if I remember right, I don't statistically off the top of my head, but he like won 31-14 or something. But I like remember the game, and I was just like, how is this guy like beating me? I mean, I threw 2 picks, but like the one pick was at the end of the game. But it was like his defensive line broke through, like forced a fumble. His guy picks it up, runs it back. Like my line just watched him. I was running the ball with like 5 yards per carry. He couldn't run the ball. And his leading receiver was Porta, guy like uncovered twice for a touchdown. I was throwing the ball all over the place, spreading the ball around. Like he couldn't stop me, but it was just like he made the right stops at the right time, and like just like the coverage, like the guy was wide open, and all his guy like just basically makes up ground and knocks the ball away or picked made the one interception. Like I said, the guy broke through the line, like sacks my guy, the guy fumbles, and his like slow lineman picks it up and runs it back for like almost a touchdown or something like that. And I was just at the end of the game, I'm like, how did I even like lose this game? And even Tim was like, yep, Madden gods were with me today. And I was like, that was a big game. So that was for me probably my most memorable bad beat recently.
Yeah, we always all have those games. All right, Big Hurt, you gave us a run of questions here. Big Hurt says, draft time is always fun here in the MFL. What was your favorite pick in the NFL draft this past weekend? That's a good question. I was not super plugged in this entire draft just because I had a really busy weekend, but of course, I watched the Saints pretty well. I find it interesting teams that make a lot of moves, and you can always tell when they kind of go all in. And in the moment, it feels good, and then 2 or 3 years down the road, you're like, man, Yeah, that's right. That didn't really work out so well. The Giants intrigued me. They made some really good moves. I really like the players they got. It's all going to hinge on the quarterback and see how that guy plays. Trey, I'm coming to you first on this one. What were some of your favorite picks this past NFL draft?
So I was obviously focusing on what my Lions were doing. I had a very alternative motive for the NFL draft. I don't think I ever will have again or will ever see again. And this year in the draft cycle, there is a town that I grew up in that one of my best friends had the opportunity of coaching in the younger years is actually in the draft and got drafted to the Tennessee Titans, Mr. Alec Iowa Manor. It was cool to see that. Then the amount of publicity that's been going on through town after draft day has just been fantastic to see. We're a small city essentially. It's only like 60,000 people, and the amount of support that kid's getting from all of us is fantastic to see.
Yeah, it's super cool. What about you, Big Hurt? Your question.
Yeah, I think there's a couple picks I really liked. For me, the one I liked was the Ravens getting Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia. Just kind of gives me the vibe of like an old school Ed Reed, like ball hawk play like player, to an already pretty stout defensive Ravens team, and like you add him next to Kyle Hamilton, that's a pretty salty pick for in my eyes. Um, I also liked the Colts getting Tyler Warren, how he fell. When he fell, I really wanted the Cowboys to take him. But I think that gives a really versatile player to an offense that needs a playmaker. And then the last pick that I personally liked was the I do like what the Giants did as a whole. But I think for me, pick wise, which is what my question was, I think the Amari and Hampton going to the Chargers. I thought he was going to go to like the Broncos or a team that kind of needed a running back. I didn't. The Chargers signed what's the dude's name from the Steelers?
Najee.
Najee Harris. So I was like, I don't see him really taking a running back, but like putting him in a Harbaugh system, like Amari and Hampton, the bigger size running back, like 6 foot, 225 pounds, ran like a 4.4 in the 40. He could be a pretty dynamite pick for the Chargers if things play out. Had a pretty good college career, so I really like what how that like kind of happened. But I just had no idea that the Chargers were going to take a running back there.
We got an 82-80 game right now, Big Hurt, in a 2-point lead. Coming right back to you, Big Hurt. What was your worst or least favorite? I don't know if I have a least favorite pick. Don't love the Saints quarterback that they picked up. We'll see kind of if the big arm, big body can pay off. But man, the price that the Jaguars paid to move up 5 spots was just like head scratching. They might be one of the worst ran organizations in the NFL. It is pretty crazy the price that they paid. But this is your question. So which one came to mind for you?
So the pick that makes that I draw is not the player, but the way the pick was done. And no, I'm not hating on this team because I do hate this team with like a great amount of passion. But the Eagles in the first round trading up one spot with the Chiefs to draft
Yeah.
a linebacker from the Alabama Crimson Tide, Jahad Campbell or whatever his name was. Like I was like, what? And then what they gave to move up one pick would, I mean, I guess they really felt that the Chiefs could have taken him, the best player available. But I don't think that that's where the Chiefs were going, in my opinion. So, like, sit on your hands and like wait, and like obviously you get your guy, and we were talking about it in Maniac's thing. Like, if there's a guy, go take your guy, right? But just to give up what they gave to move up one spot, again, it's not the player, but it's just the way that pick was traded to move up one spot. To me, it was like, what in the world is going like? But Philly's done it, and they've built a powerhouse team, and that's why they've gone to as many Super Bowls as I hate to watch them play in, they've put a pretty crazy team together. And um, as a Nebraska fan, it hurts for me that they drafted Ty Robinson in the fourth round because I was like so excited to see Ty Robinson. I think is going to be a really good player at the next level, and to see him on the Eagles, I'm like I can't even root for that guy. Here's another thing. Another Nebraska player, Fedoni, a tight end out of Nebraska, gets drafted by the Giants. So the two players that got drafted from my favorite college are on teams that I literally cannot stand to watch, the Eagles and the Giants. Like the irony there. Ugh, sucks.
I agree. I forgot about the that swap there at the end of the first round. I love the player. I was kind of hoping he'd fall to the Saints, but man, that trade was a bit of a head scratcher. What about you, Trey?
It's a kind of a combination thing. It revolves around the Saints and the Browns. How the Saints are involved in is oddly also because of the Falcons. I feel really bad for Shador on day 3 or day 2 getting played the way he did. What that kid did was absolutely disrespectful and wrong. If for people that don't know, the son of the Falcons defensive coordinator got the hold of the number to Shador. The Saints took Tyler South, that he prank called Shador saying that he was the Saints and that the Saints were going to take Shador. So I feel bad for Shador in there, but I feel bad for him also going to Cleveland after they had already went and drafted Dalen Gabriel. I feel like that's just, why are you drafting 2 quarterbacks in the same draft? Makes absolutely no sense to me. It feels like you're giving them literally no chance, especially with Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco in the room already. I know Deshaun Watson's out for the season, so I understand going and getting a quarterback, but to go get 2 just seems like complete idiocy from a team that has been known to be completely idiotic.
What a
They're not the only
quarterback room
team to
too,
take
though.
2 quarterbacks, though. Dude, they're not the only team to take 2 quarterbacks. I think it was the Raiders took Tommy Mellott from Montana State, who played quarterback. They're saying he might play receiver, but literally picked 213 and then pick 215, 2 picks later, they took Cam Miller, the North Dakota State quarterback.
That's crazy.
Those 2 guys played off against each other in the the FCS championship game.
But there's the case. One's projected to be a wide receiver, not quarterback. Both Dalen Gabriel and Shador projected as quarterbacks.
That's crazy.
Some craziness there in the NFL. You never know what those guys are thinking. Big Hurt with a roll of questions here. We're going to be here all night answering his own questions. What team in the NFL do you feel like has the best offseason so far? That's always hard for me to say. I'm so just plugged in with my team. It's hard to step back and look at all the other teams. But Trey, I'll come to you first. Any thoughts here on the team that you feel like is having one of the better off seasons?
This pains me to say it because I hate that it's a thing, especially that now that my Lions are on a dominant run, but god damn them Bears. They, from getting a top head coach to help develop your young sophomore quarterback, to just finding puzzle piece after puzzle piece after puzzle piece to add to the offense. And the fact that Luther Burden dropped to them, you're now giving Caleb Williams a young wide receiver that he essentially build the franchise around, and he has the ability to learn from Keenan Allen. I'm going to regret the day that freaking the Lions had to give up on their dominant offensive play caller, Mr. Ben Johnson, and let him go to the Bears. Because ever since then, it's been positive move after positive move.
I still don't believe in Caleb Williams, but that is just me personally. Big Hurt, your question answered.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple teams that I like. I think the Bears, like you just said, are one team that's really done well. They drafted a tight end, kind of a young quarterback's best friend, Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, to match up with the Roma Dunes. Like, somebody's got to pan out there. But you got the vet receiver as well. So, and then they go get a tackle as well from Boston College. That's not bad. But it seems like they're putting pieces together. I think the Bills went and got a solid corner and then an edge guy from Arkansas and then a couple defensive linemen and then come back and take another corner from Ohio State. The Bills really put some pieces together to rebuild a Bills defense when they already have a pretty good offense. I but I'm going to go back to the Ravens. The Ravens are a team that are just built to win, and you went and got Emory Jones, an offensive lineman from LSU. You got Mike Green, who was a guy that they were raving about in the Pro Bowl or whatever the Senior Bowl game. And Mike Green from Marshall, the edge guy, was like getting a lot of attention. But then they got Malachi Starks. I do like that. They got LaJohntay Webster, which is kind of a hidden gem receiver, in my opinion, out of Colorado, just because he was overshadowed by Travis Hunter. And going back to the Bears, the piece that I wanted to talk about was Monagay or whatever his name is, the running back from Rutgers in the 7th round. I think he could be something. So I would say the Bears, the Ravens, and then the Bills. And if I had to maybe throw one other team that's done pretty well, the Raiders getting Genty and kind of retooling things. I think they did pretty well as well.
All right, let's see if we can hit our go-go gadget boots. I feel like we're starting to bog down here a little bit. Now, I do like this question. Big Hurt says, what pick in the past weekend's NFL draft will have the biggest impact here in the OMFL for next Madden? The one little caveat I would say is that I don't know what owners are flipping teams here and flip-flopping, but my mind kind of goes to, again, we're talking Madden. We're talking how players are going to translate, not how they play in real life. I think Denbrew, no, I'm sorry, it's flip-flopping. Little Koch taking the Cleveland Browns. I think he's going to have a lot of fun toys to play with. He's going to be bringing some fun toys with him. He's going to be able to move guys for trade capital and just pile up good draft picks. I think that is a really interesting one for me to be able to watch. Jay Bowles getting his running back. Kobe, if he stays there with the Titans, getting a young, fast quarterback, that could all be really, really interesting. Going to come to you first here, Big Hurt. You answer your own question. Which one do you think will be the biggest impact?
The biggest player impact right now, in my opinion, I think we talked about it on Maniac's show, is if he keeps the Colts, Tyler Warren. And I think Tyler Warren could be a huge impact for Randy Bronco Man on that Colts roster. But if I had to go with multiple picks, I'm going to go and jump with the just had it in my head. The Panthers, sorry, Bird. He got Tatoriar McMillan, Nick Scorton, which is a defensive edge rusher, Princely and Montemillan, another edge rusher for the Panthers to get some pass rush. They come back to take Trevor Etienne, depth at a running back. He likes to run the ball. And then they go get a tight end. And then Jimmy Horn, which is a deep receiver that has NFL. Obviously, his dad played at a high level for the Saints, but I think Jimmy Horn's another hidden gem receiver buried in the Colorado depth charts. So they like what the Panthers done there, and I think Bird as a whole got a lot of good pieces there.
What about you, Trey?
If I'm going based on one pick, it's going to be, does EA generate it properly, and does Travis Hunter get the ability to play on both sides of the ball? Because if he gets to play both sides of the ball, that's why you paid the price you did to jump up, because you're not making one pick, two. You're getting yourself a cornerback and a wide receiver. If he is able to play on both sides of the football in next year's Madden, that's a big piece for whoever holds the Jaguars. Curly is nice under. If I'm going off multiple picks, as much as people aren't like, talk about it, the Lions had some interesting selections. They got a couple offensive linemen to help build their depth there. You got a defensive tackle in the first round. As much as everybody hates it, it makes a smart play because you're going off of Lee McNeil currently in real life, who's coming off the MCL or the ACL tear. But you also have DJ Reader, this is where it comes into both Madden and real life, is aging. He's up in, I believe it's going to be 31 coming into the next Madden cycle. That gives you ability to move on from him quite quickly, and you have a young stud piece that you can build. So you have young offensive linemen, you have young gives you the ability to really go out there and start to build outside of the trenches, which is something that most teams struggle with. Is you don't have good trench guys. Now that you have that solidified with the Lions, I feel like that's going to give Tim, unless he decides to be nice and give him back to me, gives Tim a nice building base to, go get the linebackers to build around Jack Campbell, who he's keeping, and, Terry and Arnold, who's out there at the corner, and then your safeties and Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. So it gives Tim the ability to go out there and build around those slight pieces. And also, offensively, we got who can fill in for Tim Patrick when Tim Patrick's days are done.
I feel like
Tim, if you're listening, you're not allowed to trade the Lions back to Trey. Just so you know,
he'll
that.
be dominated if he
if
gets his hands back on him.
You have to put a chair with your water jug, Trey. That's the rule.
Let's move on to these last ones, man. We got to get through these. I feel like I'm out of energy. It's been a long day. Nicehonger says, of the teams that missed the playoffs, what is one position you would draft to put them in contention for the next Madden season? I'm going to let you guys just pick one team. Pick one team who missed the playoffs and one player or one position that you think would help get them over the hump. We're going to come to you first, Mr. Big Hurt. We got a tied game, 99 apiece. You guys are at 99 apiece. Who's the one team and the one position?
Jeez, that's a tough question. I mean, I could pick so many teams, but I'm going to say a team that missed the playoffs that's like right on the brink of things. I'm going to go with your Saints. I just think if your Saints got like a stud defensive back to play in that league or in that division, or an elite pass rusher, those would be one of the two just to combat the passing game. I think the Saints are right there. You got the receiver in Hal, you got the running back, you got the quarterback. I just think if the Saints got a guy to like basically either cover or an elite edge rusher that could get after the quarterback to help the pass game on the defensive side of the things, I think that would be game changing for the Saints.
Mr. Trey, what do you think?
Given I'm in the talks to be in this, because 8-9 puts me outside of the playoff picture, I can tell you point blank defensively, I can dominate. Cam Robinson's old. He's oblivious to playing center because I watched him make so many bad blocks, like he was playing left tackle at center for whatever reason. And defensively, I need another cornerback. My first round pick, D'Angelo Henry, played phenomenal. He locked down, arguably could be rookie of the year, depending on how votes go. But he played phenomenally. If I can get somebody opposite him, that gives me the ability to put Emmanuel Forbes into a slot. Emmanuel Forbes just could not play the outside like I needed him to. So if I can get another dominant outside corner, I have the chance to, finally lock down some of these passing offenses that torch me throughout the season.
I think Tim likes to drive me insane with the world's longest questions he could type up. Lots of words in Tim's questions. I'm picking Tim. He says, with an 11-win team missing the playoffs and championship-winning coaches not in the playoffs this year, is the NFC clearly the top to bottom, the better conference right now? Big Hurt, going to come to you first.
I mean, I have to say the NFC has the reigning NFL or OMFL Bowl champs. So, I mean, it's hard to say no. Or it's hard to say that the NFC is not the top conference. I mean, you got to stick with, what and the NFC won. But I think there's a lot of teams on the AFC side that are championship and winning caliber teams. So, for me, I think like right now you see a lot of 11-win teams that are like it. So you look at that, like it's easy to kind of lean that way. But I think the parity in this league is pretty split down the middle. So I don't really, when it comes down to it, like if I had to pick one, yeah, the NFC has the champ from last year. So yes, but I don't think it's like, a teeter-totter like one way heavy the other way. I think it's pretty split down the middle.
What do you think, Trey?
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to see the trend. Like Madden 23, it was clear as day. It was, I think, entirely swept maybe the entire OMFL Bulls. So it was pretty obvious that, it was NFCs all the way. But you started to see the turn last year where the AFC started to get some more OMFL Bowl. They're keeping pace with us now. So the parity has gone from complete dominance on the NFC side of things to now where the AFC, you go in expecting them to have a chance within those games and potentially could win some of those games when it comes to the OMFL Bowl. But if you're making me choose, like, yeah, sure, it's 51-49%. Like, it's the NFC just a little better given the amount of talent that's not inside the playoffs that could make, if they were in the playoff hunt, could make a run. I don't think there's that many talents in the NFC, in the AFC side of things that are outside that you go, okay, yeah, they have a shot to make the OMA. I definitely think there's just a few extra on the NFC side of things that you go, okay, those guys can go for an OMA Bowl run.
I think that's a great lead into Tim's second question. He says, which non-division winner can you see making a run to the bowl similar to Bill's epic giant run a few seasons ago? Trey, we're going to start with you. Any non-division winner do you think can make a run?
From the AFC side of things, going how I'm predicting it, if I had to pick one of the three, Penguins and the Steelers, he's been there before. He's done that. He could definitely make the run with that team. On the NFC side of things, I would have to lean towards Hurt and his Vikings. Hurt's, been competitive. He knows how to, get to those games, win them when he needs to. You just gotta have the confidence to do it. But those are the two teams that I feel can make the runs from, wild card to OMFL Bowl champions.
Coming to you, Big Hurt, what do you think?
For me, I'm gonna just say non-division. I'm even like going further, non-playoff team. I think on the AFC side, I still think Little Koch is a guy that just is waiting for his success and things to click. He's got Joe Burrow, he's got all these guys. Now he's moved on from Joe Burrow to this, but like he's got such a well put together team. So I think the Bengals could be a team that could easily make themselves relevant in the jump in as a wild card or even divisional winner and then have success in the playoffs. So if I had to pick an AFC team, it'd be the Bengals to turn things around. On the NFC side, non-divisional winner, I'm gonna just stick with Trey. I mean, Trey is a guy that when he gets his pieces, and I think he's right around the corner. The team that he has is not even comparable to some of these teams that are winning 11 and 12 games. And he's won 8, and he's competing, and he's in a division with D. Wayne. So he plays that type of competition more than most people do. So he's going to be ready when his moment is present, and we've known and we've seen that in the past. So I go with the Commanders to turn things around and be there.
Yep, I think those are some good teams. Fleury says, scenario, it's week 18 and you've clinched a playoff spot. You can't move up or down, but your opponent is in a multi-team fight for a wild card spot. Do you rest your starters? I would say absolutely. I am not taking an injury chance, especially with the way injuries have been this offseason. It sucks to give it up. I'm going to fight them for it, but I am going to play some backups. What do you think, Big Hurt?
1,000%. Losing a guy like Justin Jefferson for me has just kind of changed my outlook. Going in, I was like, oh, I got Justin Jefferson. I got the depth at receiver. Now I lose my top guy and my go-to receiver. I still have a good number of receivers with Bateman, Gabe Davis, and Roy Davis, my other guy. Like, there are 3 mid-80s or high 80 overall receivers. So, I mean, I can still pass the ball. Plus, I have TJ Hawkinson out of the tight end, and I'm still throwing the ball well. But, it's just a difference maker. Justin Jefferson's a 99. He'll make those plays when the crunch time, and, obviously takes a lot of attention and draws a lot of attention from a defensive standpoint to open up a lot of those things for those other guys. So, for me, yeah, I'm not going to risk anything. I'm sitting my guys.
Trey.
It comes down to how I line up. If I'm a 2 seed, it really doesn't matter. I'm getting the worst team of the wild card. I'm probably going to bench my guys. If I'm going in as the 4 seed, I might try and knock that guy down if I know it's a tough matchup, trying to get a better matchup between one of the other teams tied. It really just comes down to how that would play out for me.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and it's fun to see how people kind of perceive that differently. Last one, we're going to wrap it up with Mr. Maniac. What NFL team's poor draft might make owners in the OMFL look for a change of address in the next Madden? So sort of opposite view of how Big Hurt looked at it. Big Hurt, it was your question a while ago, so I'm going to come back to you to start this one out. What team do you think might have done so badly that their OMFL owners like, I got to get out of here?
Well, I'm a Cowboys fan, and their draft was absolute dog shit. So Dwayne trade me the Cowboys so I can have my boys back.
I like how you approached that one.
And that is my only team that I'm moving on from the Vikings. I was just telling Maniac the other night, I'm actually really liking what the Vikings have done, and secretly, I'm kind of annoyed with how the Cowboys have done things these last couple of years and how the front office is managing the team. And I'm a Cowboys fan through thick and everything, but it's hard to stay motivated and see like, yes, we're doing the right things. Yes, we may not win, but we're a piece or two away. I just feel like we're so many pieces away, and we keep picking pieces that we're like, okay, yeah, he's a good player, but really, like that's what you took. So yeah, I just think the Cowboys are not a team that is making me really motivated as a fan. And so yeah, I mean, Dwayne,
Trey,
I hope you feel the same way. And they're like,
my
trade me.
bad. Yeah, that's a fun way to get to that question and get to the team that you really want to have. Trey, what do you think about this one?
I mean, Las Vegas, they had drafted absolutely horribly, atrociously. So if you want to hand over and take over the trade yours, feel free. I'll gladly take Trinity.
Yeah, I absolutely would too. I think that guy is an absolute baller. All right, we are coming to the end here. We got a 116 to 114 lead for Mr. Big Hurt. No questions left, so I'm going to give a 1-point lead as we come into our last question. Winner of this one is going to get to share their final thoughts as we wrap up the show. So Big Hurt, you're not only going to get the 1-point lead going into this last round, but you're going to get to start us off here. Here is the question. Make a case for your OMFL Bowl winner and why you chose them. Tell me why they are the guy that is going to get me to mail them a championship trophy at the end of 114.
Well, if we're going off my playoff madness, I picked the Jets, and that was my initial pick. And his offensive stats are just through the roof. But as I'm looking at things and how the season's played, and now having 18 weeks of stats to look at and just seeing how things have played out, I think, and I picked Meek Boy to win in our tonight's show against the Jets. So I still have the Jets in the OMFL Bowl. But I do think the Seahawks have found their traction, their momentum. Meek Boy is, I mean, like I said, he's like playing with ice that's just cracking and waiting to break through. And he's a guy that consistently finds himself in these positions. And it's only a matter of time before you put yourself in a position that many times, good or bad, something's going to happen. And in this situation, he's put himself in a situation that's good, and he's just waiting for the positive outcome. And I think it's there for him. The Seahawks have played such good football. He calls good plays. He's got good playmakers. He's drafted well. He's built a team. Like I was talking about how the Jets have such crazy offensive numbers, but Meek Boy is like matching that, and it's just not as noticeable. And we just are like, oh, well, we're waiting for him. But since week 10, he's only got one loss, and that's to a playoff team in the Steelers. And even going further back, since his bye, he's only lost 2 games, and they're both playoff teams right now. That's week 9 to my Vikings and week 14 to the Steelers. He's won every other game. I think he's found it. I think he wins, and I think that this is his chance.
Trey, you're down 6. Make your case for your bowl winner. Why I'm sending them a trophy.
Cardinals, 31.8 points out of the playoffs. Colts, 30 points per game. Not going to be in the OMFL Bowl. Browns, 29.8 points. Not going to be in the OMFL Bowl. Texans, 29.6. Not going to be in the OMFL Bowl. Jets, 29.3. Not going to be in the OMFL. Steelers, 29.2. Not going to be in the OMFL Bowl. Broncos, 27.9. Going to make it there, sure. Cowboys, 27.9. going to be there, going to win. Why they're going to win? Here's the key stat to where everybody doesn't match up. The Vikings are ranked second in points given up with 313. The Cowboys are the number one team with least points given up with 239. No person is going to stop Wayne. They are not going to score. They are going to get sacked. They are going to throw picks. They are going to fumble. They are dead in the water. That defense was going to shut you down, and Wayne's just going to sit there, sip his tequila, sip whatever the heck he's going on, and he's just going to laugh as you try to puzzle yourself through the game, and you're just going to keep walking into a dead-end corner in each phase turn you take, as that defense is what's going to win him the championship.
I'm a sucker for stats, and we have a new champion tonight. Trey, you get one final thought. 1 minute or 2 minutes. The floor is yours.
Yeah, we're at the playoff time. We're here in the OMFL Bowl. We obviously just got to watch the actual real-life draft. Everybody's about to get ready to take some vacation time. Rest your brains, rest your souls. Let's hopefully, I think we got one last OMFL season. Let's put our efforts into that and make it a fun season 117? 116?
115.
Oh, 115 we're at. And then enjoy our summer vacation and come ready to I think the early release access is August 11th, so August 14th is probably when the the regular base game goes live, and get ready for Madden 26.
Yeah, it should be a ton of fun. The college game will drop a month or so before that, so that's definitely going to keep people busy. It should be a ton of fun. A new champion crowned here tonight. We'll see if he shows up next week. Maniac said, I got so tired of beating up on Big Hurt, I had to give him a break tonight. He didn't really say that, but that's what I feel like he was trying to vibe at. Guys, it's been a great show. The playoffs are here. Whenever we come back next week, we're going to talk about some of these teams that maybe disappointed us just a little bit. We've already touched on a few of them, but we're going to really dive deep into it as we also break down the playoffs for season 114. These things are going to be fast and furious. Hopefully later this week, I'll be able to sit, wrap my head around what's going to come here and what the schedule may or may not look like as we continue to roll through and get ready for the summer. Guys, it's been a ton of fun. Thank you guys for being in the chat. Reach down there and hit that like button. It helps us out a ton. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Take care of those around you. Know that you matter. I love you. Can't wait to see you. Until then, God bless. Peace.
Smash that like and subscribe.